Welcome back to another episode of the UB School of Management's podcast. I'm your host, Henry Nowak, and today we'll be speaking with a very accomplished gentleman, a personal friend of mine, Matt Taboni. Matt is currently a JD MBA student at UB, a law clerk at Gross Schumann PC, a Western New York Prosperity Fellow, and the co-founder and head taste tester of your own business, Treats by Taboni. He's also involved at Big Big Table, the first pay what you can restaurant in Buffalo, New York. And during his time at the UB Graduate Business School, Matt has also taken endeavors as the Director of Internal Affairs and Treasurer of the Graduate Management Association, a Social Impact Fellow at Omantech LLC, a Zero Waste Student Assistant, and the founder and president of the UB chapter of the Food Recovery Network. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Henry.
So I want to start off really with your journey for sustainability. What sparked your interest and how'd you get involved?
When I started in undergrad at UB, I didn't really have any interest in sustainability. It just wasn't a topic that was top of mind. But throughout my other extracurriculars, I got involved in supporting food insecurity efforts for college students specifically, and helped work with founding the food pantry at UB's campus. And I ran that for a couple of years, working other student affairs and student programming. And there's kind of this underlying theme of sustainability, but really when I was graduating, looking to pass the reins of the food pantry on to someone else and move on to grad school at UB, I was looking for something else, and I worked in a pastry shop in undergrad, and we were wasting a lot of cake. You would trim off the top of the cake and throw it out, and it bothered me how much good cake was going to waste as a cake lover of myself. So I was why are we wasting all this perfectly good cake? We could do something with it. We could make it into something new. So I was trying to figure out what options we have. Found the Food Recovery Network, which is a national nonprofit that works with college students and helps them build chapters on their campus. And then was this is a great opportunity for us to kind of repurpose this food in something new, while still addressing my passion and interest in addressing food insecurity and food justice. And then through that effort, my deep dive into sustainability really began, learning more about the impact of food waste. And then I got a role with the Office of UB Sustainability as a Zero Waste student graduate assistant, as you had mentioned. And from there, just kept getting deeper knowledge. And now, after 4 years of grad school, it's a lot of my work has been focused on looking at sustainability in different ways, and looking at how it can really impact the climate and create solutions for the future with my JD MBA after graduation. So it's a long story and a little complex, but eventually got to where we are today.
Of course. That's so awesome that it started at the bakery, though.
Yeah.
Was there a certain moment when you were standing there saying, wow, I have to do something about this, all the wasted cake?
I really think it was one of the, when we're making a 3-tier cake or stack cake, and you're trimming the top half inch off to make sure it's flat, and just throwing that out. This is weird to me. This is a lot of cake going into the trash can. So just that effort of throwing away perfectly good vanilla cake was annoying. And then also knowing from that also how much food insecurity and poverty exists in our region and across the country, and food insecurity rates were rising and still are. So having both of those understandings, I was something else has to be done. And thankfully, there was already a network in place to work on that and to expand those efforts. And then that really just gave me the opportunity to explore more. But I think everything good starts with cake, so it seems to hold true still.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I just learned recently about your work at the Food Recovery Network. What really inspired you to start that, if anything different?
Beyond just addressing the food waste at UB, my whole undergraduate experience was really student focused and understanding the student experience. And I really wanted to create opportunities for students to get involved in social missions and social activities. So knowing that the Food Recovery Network would allow me to build this student network of like student volunteers interested in making an impact in their community while also addressing like food insecurity was like still part of that like growing mission and part of that foundation. Like we're the Food Recovery Network was started as a student initiative of like students really making impact to move the needle and push for change. And all throughout like the 3.5 years I was running the Food Recovery Network, we were able to have like over 250, 300 students like individually volunteer with our efforts with a handful of clubs. So like really be able to see that student initiative and student like collective power was really inspiring. And like one of my favorite parts of all of it was just all of that energy that came and giving students the opportunity to engage in social impact on campus after hours. It was like the perfect combination of everything.
Yeah, it's really interesting learning about how you made the transition from undergrad to grad school. Were you able to see yourself have a greater impact, or maybe a different impact towards the students? Like you mentioned, having so many of them join the movement that you started.
Yeah, I think with like my undergraduate experience and coming in the MBA program, I was able to just like have a lot more skills under my belt. Like taking like those first year MBA classes and like really learning how to like be a leader versus a manager and other of those aspects just allowed me to be more effective in my leadership ability. And I think that definitely helped bring more people into the fold. Like even my like first year as FRM president, I'm like there was still a lot of like growing that needed to be done. But by like year 2 and 3, I was able to like use all that like skills and knowledge I had from my other extracurriculars, from class and from other things, and like really be able to like be more effective in leading and delegating. And that just led to a lot more like collective power, and everyone's able to kind of like run their own areas and gave me opportunity to think more strategically on like club initiatives and those types of things. I think that definitely helped and like led to more of that impact as you're mentioning, because I had like that past experience and like that foundational coursework to like keep moving things forward.
Yeah, gotcha. I didn't realize that it was so much like from the coursework. I guess the next question kind of relates. So you've obviously been doing this balancing act for the last nearly decade of your life, doing so much with the school and so much outside of the school. How do you manage all of that?
You really make me sound old when you say last decade of my life. But it has been a balancing act. For me, I just like prioritized like what was my main focus and like where I really wanted to put that time. And I definitely did too much at times and took on too much at times, but I was able to just like figure out like okay, like I'm working on this right now, let's just focus here and like continue to grow that. And it's just trying to find that like balance between where I wanted things to go. Like for me, my grades were important, but I really wanted that like opportunity to like be involved, make connections and like have an impact. And if I like was just focusing on classes and grades, like I wouldn't have had that opportunity. So I like really wanted to like intentionally make time to try new things and to have other opportunities to do that. And like UBs being so large had like
Yeah.
enough resources to like support those ambitions and like really help me figure out that balance. Again, like it was just a lot of learning along the way, but we got to a point where I'm like comfortable with prioritizing both. And I also procrastinate a lot, so my classwork sometimes just gets a little pushed aside till the day before the exam. But we're still here, so it's working out enough. So can't complain too much.
Yeah, absolutely. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about your time with GMA. Now I'm spending my second year with GMA, did Director of Internal Affairs last year, just like you did your year, which you followed up with Treasurer. Um, so, how can you say that that experience really helped your MBA experience
So I
in
hear you're
general?
copying me, which is fine because I guess someone has to. But I think like GMA also just gave me like the opportunity to like really be an advocate for the students and like for myself, and it helped me to be able to like learn the importance of like advocating for myself and like how those skills are done, and then also like being able to be that representative for the larger body. Being at UB for it would have been like 6 years when I was treasurer. I had like a lot of knowledge that I also just like wanted to be able to share. So being in like that leadership role within the MBA program gave me the opportunity to like really support students in a lot of different ways beyond just like running the finances of GMA, but being able to like be there as a connection and help connect them to other people. And it's just like it was also a great opportunity just to learn more of my classmates and connect more with the 1 year, like the first year MBA students, because there's not a lot of like overlap in that first year, and it's like such a
Yeah.
short program. So being able to like meet the other students involved in GMA and at the other club activities was a really exciting opportunity. Yeah.
Gotcha. Was there a certain story that you have from either your first or now these later years of the MBA program that really stood out to you in terms of making a connection with someone?
I think corporate champions is like the one that always comes to mind, which is like
Yeah.
big case competition that we do every year. And there was like the week before, we were all stuck in a study room together and just like we spent probably like 10 hours together that week just like practicing going back and forth. But it was like such a great bonding opportunity. Like it was super stressful and like a lot of work, but at one point everyone was like super stressed out. And I had like chocolate in my backpack from a chocolate making class I attended like the day or two before. So we were like probably like 2 hours in. It was like 2 days before the competition, and like everyone's just like yelling at each other. And I just like went in my backpack, grabbed the chocolate, and like handed it all out. And like instantly, like tension just like calmed, and like we were able to like joke around again and like build that camaraderie that we needed to like get through the rest of the corporate champions. But that was like a really like memorable time for me because you're all just like so stressed, and then the chocolate like came out and it like eased everyone's stress and worries, and then had like a nice joking moment. And like those corporate champion, like my corporate champion group are like we're still like my best friends throughout the MBA program. So it was just like a great time to spend with them and bond over some of that anguish of corporate champion stress. But it was a fun memory.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but is there a shout out you want to give to any of the corporate champions members that you had during that time?
It was Matt and Caroline and Ramen and Nate. So we had a fun group. We had a good time. We were Columbus McKinnon.
Hmm.
So we drove an indoor crane at our site visit, which was pretty
Wow.
cool. So we had a good group. We didn't win, but I think we got a little
Second
but it's
place.
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I felt last year with my group too. We had so much prep and so much bonding experience we had, and by the end of it, and I wonder if you feel this way too. I felt like we had won,
Yeah.
even if we didn't have our name put on the trophy, just because of the experience we got to have with everybody in our group.
I agree. It was a great time, and our group was very hyped before and after. And then we like went out for like snacks and drinks after, so it was a good
Mhm.
a good memory.
I'm glad that you mentioned the chocolate in your story, because obviously Treats by Taboni has really come to fruition with for you, and it's nice to think about the humble beginnings in the bakery to now having your own business. What impact has the graduate business school had on that?
I really think it's been so helpful to have such a supportive community within like the MBA program. Um, because of the MBA program, like the people I've met in that program, they've just like really been super supportive in helping me like take on these random ambitions that I have and being there along the way to like help out or do collaborations. One of my other good friends from the MBA program, Liz, also has her own like food business. She did empanadas, Ellie's empanadas, if you want to look it up. But like her and I would always like do pop up sales together and like ham pie and empanada. So like it was always so exciting to have like such a supportive group of people to like who wanted to buy my treats or just enjoy them when I had leftovers, and gave me like the courage and encouragement to keep moving forward with it.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to have Treats by Taboni at the GMA events this year.
Waiting for an offer, an order.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, coming very soon. Um, I guess in terms of the business or anything in general, was there any unexpected lesson you found from your program?
Hmm. It's a good question. I think part of that was just like building up a lot more of my confidence, which was like unexpected because usually like you don't expect like school to be that thing to like build up your confidence, but throughout like the various presentations and just like a lot of the MBA program in the beginning is like working as a group to like present things. It just like gave me more of that comfortableness with going up there and pitching and talking on behalf of the group or any of that. And like in our entrepreneurship class, I was like our speaker or the presenter for our project, and we ended up winning. So like just like those like small moments of like winning the class competition and other little things like going up there. And another presentation I was doing, so they're all like presentation focused, but we did presentations for our communications course, and I forget why I was thinking this, but I'm like, presentations are like kind of boring nowadays. Like, it's just like people go up, they talk, they sit down. And like, how cool would it be? Like, how memorable would it be if someone just like ended their presentation with a cartwheel or like a backflip or something cool? I can't do a backflip, but I like was telling my partner, I'm like, I should do a cartwheel to my presentation. They like talked me up. So I presented for like end of semester presentation, and I said like, presentation are boring. I'm gonna end it with a cartwheel for all of you to enjoy. And did like the worst cartwheel possible, but just like pushing myself out of the comfort zone to like do a cartwheel at the end of my presentation in front of the whole class was something that like I would probably never do in a normal setting, but like I just felt so comfortable in the MBA program, and like I knew that like being silly like that would just be received well by the group, even if it looked really bad. That wasn't the intention, but I think that just that part of it just allowed me to build more of that confidence and have fun with it as well. School's sometimes a little too stuffy, so you need to throw a cartwheel in once in a while, bring some chocolate, eat some cake, make it a little bit more enjoyable.
Of course. And these things that you mentioned, it really shows the culture of the MBA program.
Definitely.
Have you found that it's different in the law school or different from undergrad compared to the graduate business school for the MBAs?
Yeah, I think because the MBA program puts you in a group like the first day, that really just allows people to build community so much faster. And I had a strong community in both undergrad, and I have like a good small community in law school. But like my MBA community was like always the largest, always the most robust. The one I like think back most to because of just like how collaborative the whole MBA program was, how collaborative like our group processes were, and really like being able to put in those opportunities to meet others and work with others. When the law school and kind of undergrad, it's less that like community focused and more like individually focused. So I
Hmm.
think that was definitely part of that aspect of like the MBA just like had such a great culture of building community and letting people collaborate like through like GMA, other student activities, and even just like the classroom settings themselves, and the coursework allowed all of that to kind of flourish.
Hmm. Talking about this community, is there a networking story that you have from any time in the graduate program you've been a part of?
It's a good question too. I think the one that comes to mind is like our MBA advantage in the winter
Okay.
was it was during COVID, so it was virtual. Um, but I was like hopping around from person to person on like our virtual screen and just like was able to connect with a lot of like young alumni plus like other alumni, but a couple of the younger alumni I met with were past prosperity, like Western New York prosperity fellows. And like through
Hmm.
that process, they encouraged me to apply. And then I was able to like apply at the end of my first year of my MBA and be accepted. So I think like just being able to talk with some of those recent MBA alumni and sharing my experiences and like my like ambitions and getting those like bows of confidence to like submit my application for the Prosperity Fellowship was a great opportunity for me because that Prosperity Fellowship has been super beneficial in my academic and professional career. So that networking opportunity, which is like one that comes to mind, is like this was like a good jumping point to like the next thing for me. Even though we were like sliding around on our virtual Zoom, whatever it was, office space or something, I forget. It was one of those. It wasn't like Zoom. It was like one of those ones where you could like move around and like open and close doors and grab a virtual drink. COVID was
Yeah.
a weird time. Yeah.
So I'm going to get right back to the fellowships, but I have to ask, what impact did MBA Advantage have for you?
See, it was like a long time ago now.
Yeah.
So it's like hard to like think back that far. It's like 3 years and I'm really aging myself. Um but I just remember like having the opportunity to like connect with people. We also did that like mock interview, I think.
Hmm.
Which was really beneficial because mine like did not go well. So having the feedback was really beneficial before moving into like first year summer and like other interviews that I had done. So it also just allowed like a lot of that group and other classmate like collaboration and networking, and they're always fun times, and like just being able to be like with my group or with other friends and engage in those different environments were fun. But yeah, the interview I think was helpful, but definitely that one networking session was one that I remember probably the most about Advantage.
Yeah, very nice. And I know you mentioned getting information on the Prosperity Fellowship for that. And I know you were also a part of the Social Impact Fellows.
Mm-hmm.
And was there a third fellowship that you were a part of as
I
well?
did like an Atlas fellowship through my work at UB Sustainability, which was like Plan is the Post Landfill Action Network is a national nonprofit that works with college campuses. So I did a fellowship through them, but it was like a 6 month long journey. It was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've had three fellowships through UV in some way or another. Um, how has your experience happened now that you can look back and say, this is how I had to apply, or maybe just like how easy it was to apply and your experience throughout, and anything you have to say after the fact?
Yeah, in terms of like social impact fellowship, I loved my social impact fellowship experience. The application process was like super easy. Um, I think it was an application and an interview, but being able to like work so that social impact fellowship pairs 10 MBA students with 10 social work students with 10 PhD students on like teams of like three interdisciplinary students for 10 different nonprofits or social impact companies. And being able to work in an environment for like the whole summer with an MSW student and a PhD student, like an interdisciplinary action project was so cool to be able to like see how like my MBA experience complemented their MSW experience, which complemented like the other person's PhD experience, and really like all working together towards a common goal and seeing that like collaboration was probably like the coolest thing. And I've like after that experience have like intentionally sought out other opportunities where I know there'll be like interdisciplinary work because of just like how powerful and effective it was in really like meeting the goals of our partner.
Hmm.
So that was like a great, and then like the prosperity fellowship is definitely a lot more intensive in application, but still like super helpful to like they walk you through it. It's not anything that like people should be afraid of attempting to go for. It's just like put yourself out there, and then whatever happens. I applied in undergrad to the prosperity fellowship and got declined. So this is like my second approach at it, but it's just like putting yourself out there and being like comfortable saying like here's what I am right now. If it's a fit, it's a fit, and if not, I'll try again next year and I'll keep working towards it.
So the fellowships that you've had, you're working on these really awesome initiatives. And I know for the Prosperity Fellowship, it was Big Big Table. Am I correct on that?
Yeah,
That was the introduction.
it
Do
was.
you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so Big Big Table is a pay as you can cafe on the west side of Buffalo. They are a cool model because they have three different participatory models where people can pay for a meal. It's either like you pay with cash, you pay with an in-kind donation of like a pantry item, or you volunteer your time for a meal. So it allows like anyone
Okay.
to enjoy a meal. And part of my Western New York Prosperity Fellowship experience, I was able to intern with Big Table over like a course of like 4 or 5 months, and like really was able to like get involved. I was working a lot on their operations and like building standard operating models, doing some marketing for them, redesigning the website and other things. But after like 5 months of working there, I was like super hooked. And then in March, they were looking for some new board members, and I was able to join their board as director, treasurer. So again, like moving into a treasurer role, I guess from GMA to Big Table, but from there, being able to like just get really involved in the organization and continue to help it grow. It's a pretty young organization. It's in year 3 of operations. We're about to hit like our 3rd birthday, so it's been really exciting, like being part of this young nonprofit and the challenges that they go through, but also the opportunity that we have and the impact that we can create in the unhoused community has been really exciting. And I'm excited to like see where that goes over the next 3 years or more of my experience.
It's so funny that you mentioned the presentations and like your growth with that. I know that, there was a limited role with the presentation, but last week I was fortunate enough to see you present. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so last week was Pitch 10, which is hosted by Next Generation United of the United Ways Giving Circle. And there's a pitch competition for 10 nonprofits to pitch for up to $50,000 in like total funding. And myself and our executive or our operations and engagement director, as well as another board member and UB alum, Morgan, were able to pitch Big Table as one of the 10 company or nonprofits, and ended up winning first place and $25,000 to expand a new program we're building out. So it was a very, very exciting opportunity. Also, it was so great because there were so many UB MBA students and other people from my UB community like there to support and be a part of that. So it was just an amazing event, and like a really prime example of showing like how supportive the UB community is, and like coming out and supporting each other and helping each other through those stressful pitch competitions when $25,000 is on the line. So it was a very exciting night for us. And I appreciate your vote, Henry.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. When I saw that the audience had a vote, I was very excited to give you them automatically right away. So, yeah. So I'm curious if you had any advice to yourself 5 years from today, what would you want to say?
Like I'm looking 5 years back.
No, like you're looking 5 years ahead.
Ahead.
You imagine yourself involved in all these things, just something to remind yourself of, something that you want to stay focused on.
It's like it's the opposite of what I'm used to, so I need to like
Yeah.
think a little deeper about it. Oh, I think really it would just telling myself like to make sure that I'm like setting time for like the other things in life. Like I always do like so much that like sometimes
Yeah.
it's so busy or get so distracted. So just like making sure that I'm like taking the time. The advice like take the time to like enjoy those things before like it gets too busy, especially in 5 years. It sounds like I'll be like 30. That's like really old in my head right now. So I feel like a lot of things will be happening at that age in my life. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to like still like do enjoyable things or like take the time to like just bake something for fun or volunteer a nonprofit that like isn't work or isn't a board commitment, and just being able to like involve myself in different ways. Yeah. 30 isn't old for people listening who are over 30, but to me at 25, 30 is a big next step, and I just don't think I'm ready for it yet.
Yeah, certainly. So I guess I can ask you now from the regular perspective, if you could go back and tell yourself something from the first day of your graduate program, what would you say?
First day of grad school was nuts. I think just like it all will work out. Like there's a lot of stress, especially like in the MBA program and the law school and everything that goes into it. But like we're here and we're grinding, but we're close to graduation. So I think it should like really like stay focused on those goals and like the objectives, your intentions and impact, and all the stuff along the way will just be a little bit blurry by the time you get there. So you can't take anything too seriously, and just like recognize like all of that past is just like leading you to like where you are now. So it's important, but like it's just a little blimp in what's next.
All right, Matt, I'm going to give you a rapid fire round at this point. So, favorite class in the business school?
Organizational behavior with Professor Maines.
Fun place to visit?
Ooh, fun place to visit. Besides Buffalo, or in Buffalo? Besides Buffalo?
Besides Buffalo for now.
New York City's fun, but I also went to Portland, Maine on vacation in May, and that's a really cool place. So I think maybe there. But I go to New York City like at least once a year, so I'm going to go with that one for now.
All right, now I'll ask your favorite restaurant in Buffalo, which
favorite restaurant
you may have a certain answer.
Hard. For brunch, I'm going to go with Brightsmith. Their brunch pizza's delicious. For dinner, that's a challenge. Amici's Italian, very good. Toutant has like some of the best brisket in the world. I'm a foodie through and through, so I could like go on for hours. If you want to find good places to eat in Buffalo, my siblings and I run an Instagram account called @BFLO Food Crew. So we post all of our locations there. But Amici's is like a perfect go-to. And I guess like the last one I'll pitch is Mooney's Mac and Cheese. Can never go wrong with a Mooney's Mac and Cheese.
Very nice. You want to share any other fun fact about yourself? Something that you want people to know?
I don't really know if there's something I want people to know. I'm an identical twin, which is kind of cool. I have a dog. His name's Gus. He's cute, but he's kind of annoying sometimes as it goes. But yeah, I don't know. I'm a fun guy, I think. So I have lots of fun facts hidden. Oh, I also have an irrational fear of manatees, which like isn't as common. But that one's always a funny one to end with, I think.
Matt Taboni, where can they find you? Any social media you want to shout out?
Our Treats website and Instagram is treatsbytaboni.com or just @treatsbytaboni. And if you just like search Matt Taboni, I'm the only one in the world. So I'm probably easy to find.
Matt, thank you for your time. And thank you to our listeners for joining us on the podcast. Make sure you follow the UB School of Management on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And be sure to subscribe, like, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. Have a great rest of your day. Go UB Bulls, and we'll see you again soon.
Go Bulls.